There's just something about seeing a cocky fighter getting proven wrong that never fails to be hilarious and immensely satisfying. And for this video, we're diving into the most brutal examples of karma we could find in women's combat sports. You're gonna see some extremely violent and well-deserved outcomes here, folks. This is Fighting is Art. Let's go. Dakota Dicha versus Tyla Santos. The former UFC title challenger Tyla Santos cut a pretty interesting promo in the wake of Dakota Dicha's win over Gina Bishop, pretty much telling the world she thought Dicha was little more than a pretty face. But when they eventually fought, that could not have been further from the truth. Dakota was clearly better than Santos everywhere in the fight.
And again, she's got Santos biting on those feints really well. Push kick twice, the right hand.
Wherever Tyla thought she had an advantage coming in, Dakota had already prepared for it. And after a tough round one, the challenger started to really put pressure on the champ.
I think she's going to go with a knee to the body off that switch if Santos moves forward. Oh, kick to the face.
Dakota's world-class skill set had already been noticed by many, but putting a beating on a fighter who had given Valentina Shevchenko a very tough fight was a different level of proof.
She doesn't always throw. Sometimes she steps and has a little look, sees where the gaps are. She's a very...
And when Dakota found her opening, as always, she stepped on the gas, displaying that killer instinct for the world to see.
Push kick to the face from Dakota Dicha. Santos is hurt.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a $1 million performance and an exceptionally heavy dose of karma.
For sure. Santos is in big trouble. She's in big trouble. Dakota Dicha to the back.
Paige Vanzant versus Hart. Paige Vanzant was expected to become a real star for BKFC when they signed her, and a grudge match with Hart seemed like a totally genius piece of matchmaking. Trying to fight a war with an opponent as gritty as Hart was always going to be a tough task.
Go in more. She's having trouble with that distance. She can't land that right hand, so he needs to get a little bit closer.
Again, snatching the single call.
There was a clear skill gap when it came to power and overall boxing fundamentals, leaving Paige with little else to do but tie up in the clinch.
It's caught. Overhand right lands from Hart.
Vanzant just didn't seem to be able to find second gear at all. And with each passing exchange, Britain knew more and more that she was truly in any real danger.
Hasn't shown 1 ounce of it the entire night.
That right hand landed on the arm.
Paige's limitations in this new sport were becoming very apparent, and Hart was only growing in confidence.
Gets hit every time you think Paige might be able to mount some kind of a comeback. She can't.
Tenacity indeed, and it's Hart.
In the end, a late rally in round 5 was not enough to sway the judges. Vanzant's dream start to her BKFC career had been ruined, and Hart's star continued to rise.
To the inside.
And that is how you spoil someone's arrival party. BKFC was not as good of a fit for Paige's skills as she had suspected. Savannah Marshall versus Franch Cruz de Dern.
See, where I'm from, we throw up the ones because we second to none. So you keep throwing that 2 up, I'm gonna keep putting this 1 up. Number 1, undisputed first.
The question was whether Franch's confidence would translate into a decent performance. Because on paper, Marshall might have been the contender, but she had many advantages. While there certainly was respect between these two, it did look as though Marshall wanted to punish Franch for her pre-fight arrogance, like she wanted to see exactly how much she actually believed her own BS. Things were already getting sloppy on both sides, but there was no doubts over who was landing the bigger shots of the two. Franch was certainly starting to feel the heat, that's for sure. Whether it was fatigue or frustration, this was getting messy. Marshall was starting to find her timing, making the difference between them quite clear. Franch was getting desperate.
When you see any of her fight times, so I don't really expect to see her favour accuracy for Marshall.
Sure, Franch showed her toughness, but in the end, it was never going to be enough to navigate the clear gap in skill and endurance that was coming to the fore in this fight.
There is no easy night against somebody who fights
Savannah Marshall took home the confident win, but all in all, it was an entertaining scrap, make no mistake.
It doesn't matter whether they're technically perfect.
Gabriella Fondora versus Gabriella Alanis. Gabriella Alanis cut a pretty confident figure coming into this one, playing into the villain role opposite the more humble and reserved Gabriella Fondora. High pressure was the name of the game for Alanis as she tried to navigate this tricky range deficit. But Fondora's ability to counter with accurate shots was a constant problem for her.
Fondora con su derecha adelantada, llegó con la zurda arriba, un tanto imperfecta Alanis y le cruza a la izquierda.
Alanis definitely had her moments, testing the chin of Fondora in the earlier rounds, leaping into range to land short, vicious shots.
Porcentaje. Llega bien Alanis con la derecha. Atención que se le aflojaron las rodillas.
But after likely dropping round 3, Fondora stormed back confidently in round 4, showcasing her excellent range control and dynamism.
Se llamaba Hart Hotel. Hoy es Virgin. Fondora llegó bien con el gancho de izquierda y luego con la derecha.
You could see in the middle rounds that she was starting to figure out Alanis's timing, and her punching volume steadily increased round by round as she grew more comfortable.
Alanis, zona alta Fondora. Vaya con la combinación Fondora. Derecha al flanco. La norteamericana.
The power of Fondora was clearly coming into play in round 7 as she hammered the chin of her overconfident opponent, testing to see just how much pressure she could handle before breaking.
Pero por dentro la zurda de Fondora. Vuelve a llegarle con la izquierda 2 veces.
The first knockdown came out of nowhere as Fondora cracked Alanis right down the middle with a vicious shot.
Derecha de la izquierda de Fondora y la combinación que manda al piso la Argentina.
Sure, Alanis survived and got back to her feet, but Fondora was able to close the show with the next clean shot she landed, and it was a brutal highlight to add to her collection.
Sentida, pero es una incidencia importante. Otra vez a la lona, la Chucky con una izquierda recta y esta vez
Faria versus Taylor Starling. Looking tough pre-fight is the easy part, but when you're called upon to back it up when it matters most, that's where things get tricky. And for Taylor Starling, making herself look like an idiot before the fight was only the first step in her multi-phase master plan to embarrass herself on the big stage.
Round number 1. Black trucks.
Her opponent had a very clear power advantage coming in, and she wasted absolutely no time putting it to good use. Starling's punches were not having real impact, but Faria was more than capable of doing real damage.
Right away. Straight punches.
And when the first hammer blow came, it surprised nobody, and it pretty quickly signaled the beginning of the end for Starling's chances.
Into the clinch. Big shots. There's the uppercut. Power on the inside. And down goes Taylor Starling.
It looked for a moment like she was quitting, and maybe she was. But whether it was pressure from her coaches or a change of heart, she decided to continue.
She quit, I think.
Turns out this was a pretty bad idea, and as soon as the opportunity to quit presented itself, she took it gladly.
She's coming forward. I could have told you that I can't do it. Big right hand. And now that is the surrender. That is
You can actually see the exact moment that she decided enough was enough. Some people just don't have it in them to dig deep.
It landed and Taylor tried to hold on, but just continued to get hit.
And it's pretty funny because she was so damn cocky pre-fight. Ann Wolfe versus Vonda Ward. Vonda Ward looked a little too comfortable for her own good, stepping in there with maybe the most feared puncher in the history of women's combat sports. Vonda seemed almost nonchalant during her fighter introduction, giving off the type of energy that only an unbeaten fighter like herself can produce.
the All-American Girl War!
But little did she know that she was getting set up to fail in dramatic fashion, and that the woman standing in front of her was about to rip her soul straight out of her body.
3-belt holder as we speak.
There was definite confidence there on both sides, but one of these women was about to learn just how wrong they were. Ann Wolfe just needed a little time to gauge the distance, to figure out exactly how to navigate the reach disadvantage in front of her.
Left hook already by Ann Wolfe. Like the way that she threw that first right hand, and there's another one back.
But it did not take her long to start putting that fearsome presence and insane punching power to use. And surely Vonda started to doubt herself once she got her first taste.
Goes to Coliseum.
You gotta swing one of those overhand rights way over like...
Because when Wolf found her mark, she made it clear that Vonda had absolutely no business being in the same ring as her.
People were scared of her and did not really fight her.
Oh, big right hand! One punch! That is it! Forget about the count. It is...
Is that the greatest knockout in the history of female combat sports? We don't know if we can think of a better one.
And Wolf setting up this punch right on the chin. As accurate and as powerful.
If you can, let us know in the comment section below. Elim McFarland versus Katie Castro. This is not what a pro fighter should look like. And yet, Katie Castro got into this fight by claiming she was a street brawler. Elim McFarland is a legitimately world-class athlete who was once even a champion, which makes us wonder who the hell wanted to see this massacre in the first place.
Fighting out of the Pacific, home remodeling blue corner. Team Hurt!
There was only one outcome that would ever come to pass from a fight like this. All in all, it was a mercifully quick finish. Sure, it was still brutal, but Elim could have done whatever the hell she wanted in there. A one-hitter quitter was a fair judgment on her part. And that extra shot on the jaw for good measure, super necessary in our book. Castro was actually out on the mat for a while after this one. How the hell did she even get the chance to fight in the first place? Did she win a contest or something? Anyway, the outcome of this matchup surprised virtually nobody, and we'd be shocked if Castro ever decided to try and fight again.
Fighting out of Team Hurricane Awesome!
But in your opinion, what is the most hilarious example of karma that you've ever seen in a fight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.